Next weekend, the St. Thomas Church hosts the first Westchester International Baroque Music Festival. It's the topic for tonight's roundtable.
Yeah, Lou's rehearsed it a bunch.
Hello and welcome to the Round Table. I'm Michael Witsch, and what you've just been hearing, well, let me ask one of our guests, Eric Milness. You are the Director of Music for St. Thomas Church, but you're also the Artistic Director for the Westchester Music Festival.
Thanks for inviting us.
You're welcome, and you're sitting next to your cohort there, Louis Scenti. Welcome, Louis. You're on the board of directors of the Westchester Music Festival.
That's right, Mike.
And you're also a singer at St. Thomas.
I am. I have the dubious distinction of being in the choir at St. Thomas, and it's great to be here. Thank you so much for having us on.
You're welcome. So, Eric, what were we listening to?
Still, perhaps, here. Well, we were just hearing a little fragment of the opening movement from George Friedrich Handel's opera, Acis and Galatea. Mm-hmm. Which we are performing in concert version, not staged and with lighting and dancing, but in concert version as the closing concert of the Westchester Baroque Festival next weekend. Sunday at 4 p.m., 7:30 p.m., Handel's opera, Acis and Galatea. And that was the opening chorus taken, I believe, from my recording of the piece. Mm-hmm. Which features many of the musicians who will be performing here in Mamaroneck next weekend.
So this is a big deal. This is the first, you're billing it as the first annual International Baroque Music Festival. It's never happened in Westchester.
First annual meaning never happened. Mm-hmm. Annual meaning hopefully every year.
Yes.
Westchester, right here, for a community that I think would really appreciate the opportunity to share what we're offering. Baroque, meaning music written between 1685 and 1730, roughly speaking. And festival, because it's fun. And we're offering 5 really delightful programs during that weekend. A pretty diverse program within the Baroque era. But it's a festival, we're having fun preparing, and we sure would like to see other people have fun too.
And you've got some programming in there that I think will apply or appeal to youth as well as us grown-ups who know Handel and Bach and some of those other famous composers. You're calling this international because you've assembled some rather well-known soloists who are going to be performing as well as the St. Thomas Choir.
Yeah, the vocal soloists certainly are frequenters of international stages, and the instrumentalists are all from all over North America. Mm-hmm. And particularly the core instrumental ensemble is from the group that I direct in Montreal, have been directing for 10 years. And they are the resident ensemble for this festival, so
and not only... try out my French, it's l'harmonie des saisons.
That's beautiful. And it's the instrumental ensemble. Mm-hmm. And with that ensemble, vocal soloists from both New York City and Montreal. And the St. Thomas Choir is our vocal ensemble in residence for, particularly for the Handel opera.
And as you said, there'll be 5 performances. Each one, I mean, you start out on Friday with a performance at 7:30 of Vivaldi, The Four Seasons, which a lot of people recognize. And then Saturday at 2 o'clock, you're doing Songs Without Words, Baroque meets Jazz.
That's a very interesting program.
And we'll talk more about that. And then at 7:30 on Saturday, it's Bach, the Brandenburg Concerti, and secular cantatas.
Yes.
Sunday afternoon, it's the Beatles.
Beatles Baroque.
You're going to tell me an interesting story about that one. You've performed that in Europe, I believe.
On tour in Europe, several times on tour, and also all across North America. Many performances, and as well as 3 CD releases of that repertoire.
And then on Sunday evening, you finish up with Handel. the light Baroque opera and
Exactly.
concert version. I think it's 2 acts.
It is,
So it sounds like a wonderful program. Now, tickets are still available,
certainly.
and if you want to see the whole show, how much is it? Every performance.
A subscription, and let's just check, but I think a subscription is $120
That's correct.
for
Okay.
all 5 events.
And if you happen to be over 60 or 55, if you happen to be a senior, you're discounted to, I think it's 100.
That's right.
And if you just wanted to see a single performance,
30 is the single adult admission, and 25 for seniors for
Right.
a single admission, and all children defined as under 18 are invited for free.
to either one or the whole show, anything.
Just show up.
So if you're under 18 out there, now you can go to a wonderful, complete weekend of music. And I should remind our viewers that this is a live segment, so if you've got a question about this festival or a comment you want to make about Baroque music, please call in, or you can email, or you can talk to us on Facebook. And the contact information should be on your screen from time to time as we talk. The tickets are available online,
Yes.
I believe.
They are.
And the website that you go to, I know one website is called Eventbrite.
Yes,
.com.
Eventbrite is the main online ticket access. If you go to eventbrite.com and search for Westchester Music Festival or Westchester Baroque Festival, that'll bring you to the page where you can order subscriptions and single tickets.
And all the performances are in St. Thomas,
Yes,
which
they
is
are.
a historic church in this area. I think it's built in 1886, if I read correctly.
This building was.
That's correct.
yeah.
And
right.
having been there myself, I know it's a comfortable seating arrangement because the pews have pads on them.
And
They do.
Very comfortable,
That's
and
right.
it's cool.
it's
isn't it?
air
That's
conditioned.
right. That's right. That's right.
It's also a marvelous acoustic. The clarity from every seat is really commendable. I love making music there. It's not too large to feel intimate and kind of up close for all listeners. And it's particularly compatible for the Baroque instrument gesture, which is
Well,
our ensemble.
We're going to be talking more about Baroque music, and we're going to see a little sample. But first, we have to take a break so that we can find out about LMC services. Stay tuned.
Do you know how to request our services? Just go to lmctv.org. Under the service banner, click Forms. In our Forms section, you can apply to be a volunteer, learn about membership, learn about corporate underwriting, request a bulletin board, coverage, DVD dubs, equipment, and PSAs.
It's all a click away at lmctv.org.
Thank you, and welcome back to the Round Table. I'm Michael Witch, and my guests are Eric Milness, who is the artistic director of the Westchester Music Festival, and Lou Scenti, who is on the board of directors of the Westchester Music Festival. And this is our live segment, so if you've got a question or comment, please feel free to call in or communicate by email. So, Baroque music as opposed to Renaissance music, modern music, what characterizes Baroque music?
I think the most important element is that for some reason, a certain number of pieces written in that period have really continued to capture attention and imagination of listeners. It's somewhat hard to explain why music of Bach, Handel, Vivaldi, and others remain in contemporary concert repertoire, except that it's great music and speaks in some way to our time. And every listener would have to fill in their own gaps about why that is, but we can't say that about all repertoires. It's kind of a cultural phenomena, at least in the Western cultural world, that these composers are still their music is still so valued and remains really current for us. I find music of that period extremely, as opportunities for real drama. It has a rhythmic energy that I find always compelling and exciting, and I'm also a huge enthusiast for popular idioms and contemporary idioms and jazz as well. And I do find as a performer a connection between the music of that period and our own more rhythmic modern music. I don't find them disassociated. So it doesn't surprise me that music of the Baroque period remains some of the most popular music in our culture.
And one of the instruments is the harpsichord.
Yeah.
And you're going to be playing the harpsichord?
I do. I direct from the harpsichord. That is, I sit and play and direct while there. And that is how all music was led until about 1830, when the conductor was invented, the stand-up conductor. So not only is it historical, but it really works well to be playing while you're directing, because you can lead things in certain ways and show things musically while playing.
Okay, we have a little sample of a Baroque concert. This is actually the group from Canada. This is l'Harmonie des Saisons. They were performing in Granby in Quebec, Johann Sebastian Bach concerto for oboe and violin. Let's take a look at that, and then we'll come right back and talk some more. Beautiful music. And off camera, you told me that everybody that we just saw will be there
Yes.
at St. Thomas.
Yes.
The instrument that is in the middle, the harpsichord,
Yeah.
totally different from a piano?
And that very instrument, that very one, is now in residence at St. Thomas.
How'd you do that?
Drove it down. And due to the really inspiring support of the folks at St. Thomas, and particularly our rector, Carol Gadsden, acquiring that instrument has been part of St. Thomas's mission to broaden our musical outreach to the community.
Yeah, Louis, can you talk a little bit about the program, the music program at St. Thomas? And this Baroque Festival is just a part of that.
That's right, Mike. St. Thomas has a long and I think rich tradition of worship music. And several years ago, Rector Carroll, who Eric just referred to, brought Eric in. And our tradition has strengthened and deepened, and we have, I believe, probably the best music program that you'll find in this area in a church. I do want to make
and you sing in it.
Well, that's and in spite of that, we're still in great shape. I do want to also just make the distinction that the festival is being graciously hosted by St. Thomas. It is not necessarily affiliated with the church's music program. And Reverend Carol is such a patron of music and of the arts and, overall. She has given us this wonderful gift of being able to perform in St. Thomas Church, which you're familiar with. The music program at St. Thomas, however, in addition to our Sunday worship, also includes a music series where the choir performs 3 times a year. And if you don't mind, I'd like to do a little plug for that, if that's okay. So coming up this year in December, on December 16th, we'll be doing Lessons in Carols. On February the 24th, we'll be doing the American Gospel Tradition, which we have done before, and it's a big crowd pleaser. And on Sunday, June 2nd, we'll be doing Cathedrals of Gold. So I think I would encourage anyone who's in the area to check out all of the music at St. Thomas, particularly a festival, and ongoing the music program at St.
Well,
Thomas.
LMC TV and the local live will be here and hope to see you back to plug each one of these concerts as they get closer to fruition. But back to next weekend. When I saw the listing of the performances, it occurred to me that maybe the evening performances were more for adult and the afternoon were more for youth. Is that a fair assumption?
It's a great concept. It's not quite what I imagined, but the Saturday afternoon, Saturday at 2, and Sunday afternoon, Sunday at 2, are sort of crossover musical gestures. That is, the first program features very popular songs, that is Saturday at 2, from the 17th century, from 17th century France, juxtaposed with very popular songs from 20th century America. So we will hear an air de cour from Paris, 17th century, followed by a Nina Simone or a Stephen Sondheim, and the program goes like that. And it's Baroque oboe and viola da gamba and harpsichord, and we recorded this project in Cleveland 2 months ago, several months ago, more than 2, but the release date is this next month. And it's a program that we're touring quite a lot as well. And I think it works in a wonderful way to show how the song repertoire, without singer, I should say, separated by 4 centuries, still has a unity, and it's great music. And where else can you hear Willie Nelson performed on Baroque instruments?
I can't answer that question. I don't know. And then the Sunday at 2 is the Beatles.
That's right.
Baroque.
Beatles Baroque.
And I believe you've recorded CDs of that, and you've toured with that.
Yeah.
And your press information says that the audience is invited to join in. How so?
It has developed that way. A bit of a surprise to me that when we began performing this project, maybe 15 years ago, we would get about 3 pieces in. And again, there are no singers involved, it's just instrumentalists. We'd get about 3 tunes in, and it would start that the audience would begin singing. And that's a great
Well, for my
feeling,
generation,
actually.
those are favorite tunes.
That's right.
And we know the words.
And the words are known, and that's what makes it really fun, I think, for everybody, because
So it's not something that annoys the performers.
not at all.
Okay.
Not at all. And I would like to underline that we do not present the great tunes of Lennon McCartney and their producer, George Martin, who was sort of the focus of the repertoire in this case, as Beatles as a gavotte or Beatles as a minuet. Rather, we're doing very, very careful, authentic transcriptions of the George Martin and Lennon McCartney team as they recorded their repertoire, but playing it on period instruments.
And you told me that it's a big hit in Germany,
It is.
the Beatles?
It is. We've done it at the Potsdam Festival, the Regensburg Festival, the Dresden Festival, and the Bremen Festival, and it's always fun.
And then to start off on Friday evening, it's Vivaldi, which is,
Yes.
as your press material says, among the most treasured pieces in Western music.
I think so.
4
yes.
seasons. And Saturday evening, it's, what do we have? Saturday is Bach,
Yes.
the
Not only
Brandenburg Concerti.
not only 2 Brandenburg Concerti, but the Wedding Cantata and the Coffee Cantata. And how many people know that Bach wrote comedic music as well, including the Coffee Cantata? But this is all music that he wrote for use in the Zimmermann Coffee House in Leipzig, for which he wrote entertainment music, and perfect for us on this occasion to celebrate the lighter side of Bach.
By the way, all this information I found on the website, as you can too, folks. If you just go to the website that we've got on your screen, you can find out about each program and how to get your tickets and the cost and who's playing, and it's full of information. So we're here just to get you all excited about it. It sounds like a wonderful weekend. And I'd like to just end by saying that, listening to music, I think you'll agree, it has a certain effect on the body and the mind and the spirit. And maybe in these times of crazy politics and back to school hubbub and, just the crazy everyday life, I would suggest that everybody out there take a break from that and spend a delightful weekend at St. Thomas.
And the weather's supposed to be cooler.
There you
That's
go.
right.
Well, it's air conditioned anyway.
And it's
Right.
air conditioned.
So, again, that's the first annual Westchester International Baroque Festival. I want to thank you, Eric and Louis, for coming and sharing the information with us. And this is not the end of the Local Live. We have more news for you, so please stay tuned.